So, Mr. Clerk, if you prepare the...
We have the CLA who will read the agenda.
Right, I just want to make sure the microphones are working,
Well
the
set.
tape's rolling.
Yeah,
Very
you're
good.
well, Councilman.
Okay. Good, and we're ready to roll?
If you are, yes.
Good, all right. Mr. Rosendahl is minutes away. No, is moments away. Ms. Hans is minutes away, but she said to go ahead, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hold number one, which is the airport, for a moment, but number two is a reappointment for a good constituent of the 4th District, who I'd like to call. Ms.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes, under item 2, the mayor submits for council confirmation his reappointment of Ms. Geraldine Lopez Mendoza to the Board of Harbor Commissioners. This is for a 5-year term ending on June 30th, 2013.
Great.
And
Actually,
just,
Councilmember.
excuse me, just so you know, we haven't received the report yet from the City Ethics Commission staff reviewing the financial statement.
Okay.
I got bad news on Friday, which is I'm no longer in the 4th District.
Oh, where are you?
My husband and I moved to Valley Village, and according to the new calculations, I'm sorry.
You're still in the city of Los Angeles?
Yes, I am. Yes,
Okay, I
I am.
have no problem with that at all. That's great. And but also the issue of the ethics forms and all
What
that.
happened was I actually did the ethics forum as part of being an official in
The annual report.
right, the annual report at the end of March, and nothing's changed. But I was out of town last week. I faxed the forms to the Ethics Commission, and then they were delivered on Monday or Tuesday in person. But nothing's changed. It's all the same information.
I got it. Will this be before council hears it? I want it in the file, just so we're all prepared to say, have your things there. But how's your great opportunity to serve the city of Los Angeles going?
It's been going wonderfully. I really feel like we've made great progress on a number of fronts. Since 3 years ago when I first started, we have a new executive director, a new executive team. One of the members actually here today, Mike Christensen, one of the
Right.
deputy
Hi,
executive
Michael.
directors. We've moved forward on pretty much every aspect of our plan in terms of putting together the Clean Air Action Plan.
Right.
We've also moved forward with approving the first EIR in several years with the TRAPAC project. We have gotten rid of the LAXT site. We've demolished that. We've moved forward with the marina and with the Wilmington waterfront site.
And you lit the St. Vincent Thomas Bridge.
I'm sorry?
You lit the
Yes,
bridge.
we did. Actually, I think that was done before us.
I know,
It
but
was
take
done before
credit
us.
for it, you know,
Oh,
it's
okay.
all right.
Well, it's beautiful with blue lights, and
Right,
yeah, I'll take
right.
full credit for that.
And how's the boardwalk going, which I think is so important, and the cruise center and all the...
The San Pedro
Work there,
waterfront?
right.
We're in the process of preparing the draft EIR right now. There are 6 different alternatives that are part of the draft EIR. We're having early meetings with many stakeholders in the San Pedro and Wilmington area, including the chambers of commerce, the homeowners associations, and the neighborhood councils. So I would say we're close to being ready to release the draft EIR, but we're not quite ready yet in terms of making sure that we have all of our T's crossed and all of our I's dotted.
Okay, well, just make sure we move forward on that, because that's real important. Have you ever been to Vancouver, British Columbia?
No, but I'm planning to go to Granville Island.
Well, and the whole port that's up there, the system, how the city integrates itself into the water, into the commerce. And I know it's not Los Angeles, but it's a very large West Coast city. Try to get there somehow, some way, and see how that does. It's a fascinating city, and I'd like to see it duplicated. And I think Ms. Hahn has been so good at focusing the port and trying to, not turn its back on the San Pedro, but really be welcoming. And it's all important. So charge ahead. You'll be scheduled for council when that material is secured by Ethics Commission. And
We're in council today.
in council
so-
today. So Ms. Hahn may have some questions in council for you. So
That's fine.
Where do we get that paper between now and committee?
I'm going to contact the commission again. and-
John White, City Clerk. Ethics does have Ms. Mendoza's paperwork, but as far as when the report will come in, I can't say.
Has we ever appointed someone before the ethics?
Sure. In fact,
Okay,
we can
good.
approve the nomination subject to the review of her economic...
Got it.
statement
All
by the
right,
commission.
good. Mr. Roosevelt, we're just completing item number 2, the slow move here of our new Port Commission reappointment, Ms. Mendoza. Okay,
Ms. Mendoza, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Have a seat. Okay.
good. Hey, Billy, anything to request of,
Well, first of all, good morning.
Good morning.
How long have you been on the commission?
3 years. I started right when you started, I believe.
Isn't that something? How?
I remember that because I remember when we met, things were a little bit
Let me
crazy in your
ask you
office.
this: what have you found to be the most challenging part of this job in the last 3 years? And the second part of that question is, what are you going to focus on going forward?
The most challenging thing about this position, I believe, has been building strong community trust with the stakeholders in San Pedro and Wilmington. I think in the past there were many promises and commitments made that may not have been followed up on in a timely manner. And President Freeman and I promised ourselves that when we came on board, we would never say to any of the stakeholders, trust us, because we haven't earned that trust. So I would say that's been the most challenging thing that we've grappled with, is figuring out how to rebuild relationships, rebuild trust with stakeholders, from the neighborhood councils and homeowner groups to the Sierra Club to, some of the youth groups that have been committed certain funds or made certain promises, and then things haven't followed up. In terms of moving forward with our goals and agenda, we came in with a policy of figuring out how to grow the port green, which is reduce pollution at the same time allowing projects to move forward. And I think we've made great strides in that. We have the Clean Air Action Plan that we're in the process of implementing through our evaluations of the EIRs and EISs as they come forward on a project-specific basis. As we were just talking about, there's a tremendous economic development opportunity with the redevelopment of Ports of Call and the San Pedro waterfront. So I would say that in terms of moving forward, we have a great team at the port put together with Geraldine Natz, our executive director, and her executive team. I think now it's just a matter of following through with the commitments that we made 3 years ago through the Clean Air Action Plan, and with economic development and everything else that we've committed to up to this point.
Very cool. One last question I have is we were in Washington the other day, Access LA, with the chamber, and we met with Dianne Feinstein, and there were some concerns about the port of Long Beach and the port of LA. I mean, it's the same harbor, it's the same port, except one is a town and the other is a town. What's the deal on the cooperation, collaboration, and what are the issues that still need to be resolved?
I would say it's much stronger than it used to be, considering that we collaborated on the Clean Air Action Plan. And when we approved that Clean Air Action Plan in November of '06, the two harbor commissions, Long Beach and LA, met together in Long Beach to approve it collaboratively. And that had not been done in over 80 years. The two commissions had not met together. So in that regard, I think there's been a spirit of cooperation. We stole Geraldine Natz as our executive director from the Port of Long Beach. She also stole to be our deputy executive director. What's Catherine's title?
Deputy Executive for Development.
For Development. Oh, for Business Development, Catherine McDermott, who for several years was also at the Port of Long Beach. And I think having those two people who had been Port of Long Beach stalwarts for many years and now they're on our side, that has, I think, greatly improved communication and cooperation. Now, that's not to say we still don't have bumps in the road or we don't see eye to eye. For example, with the clean truck program, we obviously had a breaking there in terms of the employee provision. But by and large, I would say that collaboratively, we've moved forward much, much stronger in the past 3 years than we had previously. And I would say it was because, in part, Geraldine and Catherine came on board, but I think it was also on the part of Jim Hankla, Mario Cordero, on the side of the Long Beach Harbor Commissioners, and then myself and President Freeman reaching across and having meetings, just the four of us, where we talked through a number of issues and how we could work together.
Excellent. And I'll give you one more question, even though I said that was the last one. Terrorism, terrorism, terrorism. We've been in this terrorism row since 2001. Jane Harmon has been very strong in supporting various federal supports for it. We always worry about all those ships and all those containers and all those issues. And where are we with our sense of comfort about that whole notion of?
Well, since we came on board, we have a new, another deputy executive director for operations, Captain John Holmes, and he has a very long and very strong history in working on those kinds of issues. We have increased our police force. I don't know the number. What's the number, Mike? How many people? We have about 140 police officers, so we've greatly increased that, and the commission made a strategic decision when this commission came on board, not to just wait for federal funds to move forward with expenditures. So we've actually increased our spending on any number of things that the captain John Holmes, as well as George, I forget George's last name, but he's our director, George Cummings, our director of Homeland Security, as well as our police captain, Ron Boyd. Anything they come to and say they need, we've either given them the funds directly from our budget or we've matched the federal funds. And so I think we moved forward on a number of different fronts. It's another thing that we're working together with Long Beach to collaborate on because it is one port complex. And we had our first, well, have you been watching America's Port? You know, the National Geographic channel actually,
I don't watch TV.
they filmed,
I have no time.
you know, we should send you a DVD. They did several episodes about the port and the port operations, and one of the things that was underscored through all those TV shows was the importance of security and all the different things that we're doing. So I would say that we've moved forward pretty aggressively.
I know Tommy's a little impatient there, but I'm going to roll. Wetland credits. I met with your leadership team at first.
Just to only tell you here, I just so you know why we started. I know I'm answering, but so you know, the commission will be in council today.
Yeah.
I think a bigger audience may hear some of these questions, and I know I don't want you to be late for council. I'm excused for a little bit to go to a school's 100th anniversary, so I got to.
Tommy, whatever you say. But on the wetland credits,
Yes, sir.
maybe you can clarify where we are. I've wanted some of that to help me with a couple of projects in the waterfront of Playa del Rey area.
I'm aware of that.
And there were old reports we dusted up and we looked at, and the interest was the L-shaped property there on the lagoon and also some other areas. Any sensing of the wetland credits for our district, for my district, and for Janice Hahn's district?
I'm hesitant to comment simply because I know that if one of the challenges with port and property, because we have a very deep pocket, is if we expressed interest in property, suddenly its value goes way up.
All right.
But I share your frustration in that one of the ways that we've handled the issue of the degradation of wetlands in the port area is to purchase credits in Orange County, in San Diego. It never made any sense to us. So very early on, this particular commission said, you know, we really want to figure out ways to spend these monies locally.
Right.
One of the challenges was working with state lands to figure out how we can get the credits that we need locally.
Yeah.
And that apparently takes many, many years. It has been a great source of frustration for all of us. And what we said was, what's the problem with just buying property for property's sake and not worrying about the credits? And I think that's where we are now. And I believe Commissioner Krause has been interacting on this regard as a banker in terms of figuring out how real estate can help us. But it is a source of frustration. It has been almost since day one when we understood that we were purchasing credits in other parts of California and not locally. And we've been talking to the Bayona Wetlands folks. We've been talking to the Sierra Club folks. I personally have done what I can to push the staff to try to address this issue aggressively.
And I look forward to asking that again in the public light of the council meeting. And then one last question, which you don't have to answer now. I know Ms. Hahn is here now, which I'm thrilled, and she might ask some questions or two. Is access money from port to be used for port access transportation issues, which is a big one. But you can answer that if she wants to hear it now, or you can wait until council. It's up to the chair.
Whatever. I spent a nice afternoon yesterday with Geraldine, so we talked a lot, and I'm very pleased to support her reappointment if she's willing to serve. She's been a great commissioner and has really, I think, brought an interesting perspective to this Harbor Commission.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And we
very
talked
much.
a lot about some of the issues that I am very concerned about.
Which Councilmember Labange also raised.
All in your behalf.
The San Pedro waterfront development and the need to move
Leadership,
forward
exactly.
aggressively.
I move approval of this, Commissioner.
Second.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Unanimous. It's
Thank
awesome.
you.
You're great.
We'll see
Thank you.
We'll see you in council.
Now, Ms. Hahn, as operating I took number 2 out of hand, knowing I had your blessing, but I held number 1. Now we go back to number 1 if the CLA would like to read it.
Under item 1, the mayor submits for council confirmation his reappointment of Dr. Fernando Torres Gil to the Board of Airport Commissioners. This is for a 5-year term ending on June 30th, 2013. And again, we have not yet received the City Ethics Commission staff report on Dr. Torres Gil's statement of economic interest.
We have not?
We have not. I've been.
It's a process, but if I could just say something, this is one great man, and I want to vote yes for it, but I have a school waiting for me. So, Mr. Clerk,
Go
if
to
I could
school.
say We have the vote now, or?
Yeah, let's say yes.
Yes.
Well,
that's it. Okay, and then you can talk about it. I just wanted to vote for it.
I think that's highly unusual.
Unusual, but.
Okay, but
Tom
I just
is
want to let you know,
unusual.
I would vote for you if I was here.
That's good.
I have submitted all my materials.
Yes, the staff are just waiting for a signature, and I
I know.
hope they'll have
He
it
is,
later
isn't he?
this morning.
Great.
Well, good morning, and you and I also had a good conversation on the phone, and I, of course, remember you when you were on the Harbor Commission.
Yes.
And again, I think you bring a great perspective to both of these commissions. Okay, we've had a lot of issues out at the airport, but I think for a lot of us, the number one thing that we're focusing on and paying attention to is of course the modernization
Yes.
of LAX. It just finally feels like it's going in the right direction. It's taken a long time, several mayors, to actually begin doing the modernization. And we have heard, unequivocally that the airline industry has been very disappointed in our facilities. Their, passenger experience has been greatly diminished because of our facilities, and that they actually look at what we're doing when they're determining their routes in the coming years. And a lot of these airlines don't have to land at LAX anymore, we've learned, and we need to really move forward on this. And we're very concerned about the contracting procedures, and it's just such a big deal that we want to make sure everything is transparent. We want to make sure that we've got the commission behind this in a really focused way. Would you like to speak to
No, I
that issue?
certainly, and thank you, Madam Chair and Councilman Rosenthal, for giving me a chance to come up here. I think if you had asked me in our conversation, why would you do this again, take a second term, assuming I received a majority vote of the City Council, and it comes down to seeing through the many projects that we've started. Since the LA Olympics, as you know, not much has been done. I was a young man back then with black hair, and I'd like to stay on board to see what will be $5 to $8 billion of work come to fruition. Of course, not all at LAX, Palmdale, Van Nuys, Ontario, but LAX. We know well that we can no longer rest on our laurels. Location alone is not enough for the airlines unless we improve, enhance, and make the passenger and airline experience more pleasant and efficient. We're going to lose out. And as you know better than I, the port and the airports are critical economic engines for Los Angeles and the region. So I'm actually quite excited and relatively confident that the many projects we're moving forward on are going to work, will come online. 2012 is kind of our magic year when we can see, especially Tibbet, renovated. So I think you can rest assured that all of us on the commission, and certainly Gina Marie, we know that we have a huge burden on our backs to get these things done and get them done well, because the city's depending on us. So I'm ready to dive in.
Right, good. And we're delighted with Gina Marie. We just think she is going to be, or is, a fabulous leader, very hands-on. One of the things, again, we want to make sure, since it's such a big deal, the modernization, we want to make sure the awarding of these contracts goes smoothly and without question. We don't want concern about each and every one.
Well,
So we, with the city attorney, with ethics, and the controller, we recommended a couple of things that we thought might tighten up the contracting procedure. So we would hope that maybe it would come to the commission. Maybe you all would take a look at what some of those recommendations were, if you had anyone to add, and then you would maybe adopt that as a policy out there as soon as possible. Again, because there's just so much going on. We want the public to have complete confidence that the way we award these billions of dollars in contracts is going to be fair, transparent, accountable, efficient, all that stuff.
If
So
I can just speak to that, and I mentioned this to Councilwoman Hahn in our conversation, that recent experience with the DIMGIN and Ventress contracts and the City Council bringing it to downtown was actually a good and healthy experience. I think it both educated the council as to what we're doing. It put us on notice that even though we're committed to absolute integrity and transparency, that we have more to do. The recommendations by Laura Chick in her report, we're going to adopt as is.
Good.
We know that there's been unhappy experiences in the past.
right.
We in no way ever want to experience that or cause the public to question
Right.
our motives or to perceive that things are not being done in the public interest. So as you know, each one of us on the council, on the commission, knows that we have a critical fiduciary responsibility to do it honestly, with integrity, and with
Right.
transparency. And that's going to be part of our legacy, so we take it real serious. And that last issue with Gina Marie and our contract, I think was a very positive one for us.
Good. And again, because, we're willing to, quote, fast track, all this modernization effort. But the only way we can feel comfortable sort of fast tracking it is if, as you said, you've got all these policies in place that we can be completely confident, and we can be accountable to our public that, in fact, we're doing it in the best way possible. Because
We agree with you.
We have got to do this as fast as possible, as efficient as possible, as transparent as possible. But we want to modernize this airport. Every time I fly anywhere else, I get more passionate about turning this airport into a first-class international gateway into Los Angeles.
Thank you for that.
And I know you have-
Councilman?
Yeah, I'm not going to repeat any of that. Everything she said is right on the mark, and obviously, from my perspective, where regionalism will only happen
Yes.
when modernization takes place and finished products are passed on in a formula to the airlines, and LAX will no longer be the cheapest takeoff and landing
Thank you.
airport in America. The airlines at this moment don't care if it takes you 2 or 3 hours to get to the gate. We on the ground do. So once LAX comes into the new light, Ontario will be more attractive and incented, and you'll see nonstop direct, frequent, and discounted flights out of Ontario, which should be there now, but will happen as the modernization takes place. That's the added benefit of coming to LAX and seeing a beautiful airport. You'll find that the Inland Empire and Orange County will be better served by Ontario lighting itself up and becoming a real airport. The Green Line issue, we'll save it for downstairs, but that must be part of the 5 projects that we have rattled off as green-lighted projects, which, as you know, is the Tom Bradley Terminal, the People Mover, the Consolidated Rental, the Midfield Terminal, and the Green Line. We're thrilled, as Ms. Hahn provided the initial leadership on backsiding Tibbet with a few more of those gates for these.
We're moving on that one now.
bigger
I
That
know.
started.
I know.
She was on the
Thank
mark,
you.
and the rest of us followed her a year later on her leadership on that. So I'm just thrilled with that. I would like to talk a little bit about security in the context of safety issues of incursions, not terrorism security. The security of the passenger. We had an incident the other day, which was clearly a pilot error going on the wrong entrance point and not listening properly to the tower. Everybody agreed that if the status runway lights were in place, that never would have happened. The status runway lights are critical. I'm thrilled we're moving forward with that the FAA woke up on that issue and are in the process of making it happen. Do you have any sense that this will happen by March or April of next year? Are we still on target for that?
I don't know if you're aware, at our most recent board meeting, commission meeting, we actually were faced with a real kind of come to Jesus moment where where the runway status lights was on our agenda for approval and to fast track. There was an issue about unions
Yes.
and labor issues,
Felix.
and the commission actually tied on the vote, which would have delayed it another couple of months. And I don't want to take all the credit, but I certainly spoke up that if we were committed and serious about doing the critical incremental steps to improve safety, and that might even be a large part of our final decision on the northern runways, that this was a moment. And so one of our members changed his vote. We approved it. It's moving quickly. It'll be done within a few months. And those status lights, runway status lights, are very crucial. There's a couple of other things that we can do that we're going to be looking at prior to a final decision on the northern runway. And you have educated me and a lot of us that, hey, there's other things that are an important part of enhancing safety. Do those first, do them now. So
Right on. And the second part of that, which again, I think the FAA has been derelict in its duty, is the tower.
Oh.
The tower fully staffed, everybody felt historically is like 47 personnel.
And as you know, we've
Now we're
been
down to
fighting the
33.
FAA on that one, and I'm hoping, not to be partisan, that if we get a new administration, we're going to get more attention to our issues from the FAA, including enhancing staffing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because the short fix is more in the tower and the runway status lights. I was very much offended by this guy, McGregor, from FAA or whatever his name is, who blamed the spacing of the runways as the issue of that last incursion, which was a lie. He was irresponsible with that comment. So all the time when they talk about 340 North is the only safety issue, all they do is create more energy in the community unnecessary at this time. Because the bottom line is, if the lawsuits come again, modernization is out the window. And we want modernization to take place for the obvious reasons of making the airport look great and the regional aspect of it. So on the safety issue, I'm delighted you're providing leadership on the runway status lights. And I'm
You have
absolutely-
educated me, Councilman.
No, I'm absolutely
And I'm
convinced
listening.
that the tower staffing must immediately be done. And if this president can't handle it, then whoever the next president is, they better make sure we get up to that 47 level so we're fully staffed at that tower rather than down at the 33, 34. Anyhow, you're great. Thank
If I can say a quick word about regionalization, we need to kind of jumpstart that again. Ultimately, that's the long-term solution.
Right.
Ontario, we're putting a lot of time into
Right.
expanding the flights,
Right.
negotiating with airlines, TACA,
Right.
Mexicana, getting them to Ontario. Palmdale, we are struggling to keep United there.
Right, I know.
The flyaways, we're expanding them.
Right.
We're looking seriously at a flyaway that can go to Ontario.
Right.
So I think we're doing all the things, and we need to do more because that's a long-term solution, making greater use of
Right.
Ontario
I know she
and
wants to move
Palmdale.
on, but custom
So-
agents, did we get the more custom agents yet? Are they in
fine.
line?
I don't know the answer.
Enjoying this.
I don't know the answer to that, sir.
Okay, we'd like.
No, I'm fine. I was just gonna.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. And I appreciate on the runway, the runway lights. I really appreciate that. And Bill's the one that really has brought that to the forefront. We got to do everything we can right now to increase safety while we're waiting on whether or not we move runways north or south. And I appreciate your leadership on that. And I remember I kind of had an issue with that, but I knew because this was so important and so critical for us to fast track this that I didn't bother you either on that union issue. But I will tell you, I bothered the Harbor Commission on that very same issue with Helix. So, but there are certain times that we all look at these issues and see what's important for safety now.
I
So
will
we
take
appreciate
a hit
it.
on that,
Let me
but I
just ask,
figured safety was first. So
Bless you.
yeah, but they shouldn't be mutually exclusive. As we move forward with project labor agreements, I think we can do it all. Let me just say one thing. We had an issue, and it's still kind of floating around there with the Burbank. Glendale Airport wanting to do the curfew, and it kind of came to us, and we were kind of looking to oppose that. But I think what came out of that, we had the mayor of Burbank come, and there was a sense that we're not really talking to each other. We're not really working together on some of these overall issues. And if they want to put a curfew in, how does that impact us? But ultimately, someday we may want to put a curfew in, and how does that impact? What kind of relationship does LAWA have
we
with
have
these other
in
regional airports?
In our time on the commission, I think we've neglected, I'm speaking for
Yeah.
myself, we have neglected our relationships with Burbank Glendale, with Torrance, with John Wayne.
What could we do?
let me go back and think that through. We have formally opposed the Burbank curfew
Right.
because it would shift up to 7 flights to Van Nuys Airport and X number to LAX.
But wouldn't it be better to be? But wouldn't it be better to
Santa
be? Wouldn't it be
Monica.
better to be in there early with
We-
better relationships, better
Speaking
dialoguing?
for myself, we should have. I think I missed the boat on that, and so we've been reacting too. So I'll take that back
Why
to
don't
my
you
fellow
take that back
commissioners.
and look? I think as we move forward with trying to do regionalization, I think it's critical that we have better relationships with all these entities, all these airports, and instead of us just taking the strong line, we oppose this. I don't think that helps as we go in the future, trying to maybe put our own curfews in, and how's that going to look when we've opposed theirs? I think it would love to have you come back with some sort of a plan.
I will take a lead
where
on that,
you-
bring it to my fellow
Yeah,
commissioners.
I
we
think-
were caught
I
by
think we need
surprise.
better relationships
So-
and better dialoguing on a lot of these issues. We can't just mandate certain things to happen. I think we all have to work together. We all have to bear the burden of air traffic as well as the benefits, and we haven't done a good job of that. So,
But, by the way, Council Member Hans
Oh,
and
okay.
Rosenthal, I don't know if you're aware, I will not be able to be at the council meeting at 10. I'm happy to come back next week.
Oh, well,
I'm
that changes
keynoting
how I
an
feel
aging
about you.
conference at UCLA, and that's kind of my day job.
Yeah, I
And they
know.
need me there, so
don't worry about it.
I apologize, but I'll come back next week if you need me.
I don't think we'll need you. I don't.
okay.
I mean that in the nicest sort of way.
I mean-
I
Well,
think.
we'd
We'll,
love to ballyhoo you and also
I know.
ask
Yeah,
you the same questions there. But
well, would you like him to come back?
it's up to you.
Oh, no, I've got it on my schedule.
To come back
You
next
just-
week?
And this might be a chance for the full council
Okay, well,
to
that's-
be
all right.
educated.
All right, then
And you
we-
can grill me and raise
All right,
issues.
all right.
Great.
Okay,
So,
then we won't approve
John,
you today.
Next week at 10 o'clock, I will be there, Wednesday.
Okay, we'll,
We'll approve you.
we'll approve you today. Is there a motion
Yeah,
to?
so moved.
Okay, so it's approved that we make the recommendation that you get reappointed, and we'll wait a week to do it in front of the full
Next
council.
Wednesday.
We don't have a timeline on his appointment?
Next Friday,
Chad.
by June 27th, from next
Okay,
Friday.
so that's okay.
Great.
Okay,
Okay, thank you very much.
thank you. Okay,
I'll call you.
item 3, Michael Fleming is not here, right?
Correct. He's out of town today.
Out of town today.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Bill?
Yes.
Our next confirmation, Michael Fleming to the Board of Convention Center Commissioners is not here. It's a reappointment. We have a timeline, so if we
I look forward to him coming before the council. If you so feel, we could approve him out of committee right now.
he's not coming to the council, and we have a deadline, so we either approve him without him being here.
His deadline is also next Friday. I wonder if we could try to schedule him next Wednesday?
For the council?
I don't know, he's out of the country.
He's on today's council agenda, but you could approve him in committee and then continue him today in council until next week, either Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay, apparently there was a mix-up with staff telling him that he was on committee, not our staff, but either the mayor's staff or the convention center staff, so.
So I'd love to approve him out of committee,
Okay.
but put him before council next week.
Okay.
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay, let's do that.
Very good.
Okay.
All right.
And again, with him also, we're waiting for the receipt of the Ethics Commission report. I believe they were waiting for a signature of the executive director, so we hopefully will have those later today.
Okay.
Under item 4, the Board of Airport Commissioners submits for council approval the First Amendment to a contract with Aon Risk Services of Southern California for the provision of insurance brokerage and administrative services for the Department of Airport's owner-controlled insurance program. This program offers an insurance program option for contractors who are working on construction projects for the department. The First Amendment would extend the existing contract term by 2 years, expiring on June 30th, 2010.
Okay, the current contract expires June 30th of this year, right?
It does, yeah.
Okay, we're kind of close here, right?
It is a little bit close, but we're still within the parameters.
Okay.
For help.
Tell us why this is a
Okay.
good thing.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Councilmember Rosendahl. Bruce Brown.
Morning.
Good morning. I'm your risk manager at Los Angeles World Airports. Thank you for hearing this item. What we have before you is an extension of term of the current broker contract for Aon Risk Services. They're our broker that provides insurance placement and overall administration, safety programs, so forth, for the current owner-controlled insurance program at Los Angeles World Airports, LAX specifically. This program provides bulk insurance that we purchase in volume at very leveraged, considerably lower rates on the marketplace. It allows us to purchase much higher insurance limits. Also, one of the intangible things, I guess, non-financial things, it allows the smaller contractors to come in that may not be able to purchase the $5 million limits that are required. They can come in and we provide the insurance for them so they can take that overhead out of their costs. In many cases, these small contractors, small mom and pop firms simply can't get the $5 million required insurance limit. So,
Right. So this one goes till 2010.
This one will extend it to June 2010.
Now, it currently covers contractors working on 3 projects: South Airfield Improvement, Tom Bradley, and inline baggage screening.
Absolutely correct.
Okay, well, South Airfield is done.
90% complete, yeah. Tom Bradley Terminal is about 50% complete.
So do we get, what happens when a project goes away that is a part of the insurance coverage?
It's a good thing, and then we actually can then move our resources into the Tom Bradley Terminal, which is a different exposure, much higher exposure, because we've got to do all this remodeling. A lot of construction inside a terminal has to remain fully active. So we can fortunately move all of our safety people, most of them inside Tom Bradley Terminal where they're really needed. The Tom Bradley Terminal is really the highest exposure project. And that project in itself has grown quite a bit in costs originally beyond its original estimates. It's increased by about $200 million. Overall, we're still staying within the aggregate limits of what our first estimates were when we put together the OSIP program nearly 4 years ago, roughly about $900 million total.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, sure, a couple of questions.
Okay.
First of all, extending an existing contract, why didn't you do an RFP and make a competitive process?
Well, one of the reasons, basic reason, the insurance policy that accompanies this program, placed through AIG, is a 5-year policy. That's a standard policy for any owner-controlled insurance program. We are limited at the airport to a 3-year contract without your consideration and approval. We didn't quite know what the timelines were going to be when this was set up 4 or 5 years ago, as far as we kind of got a very delayed start on the projects. Finally, things started moving. Fortunately, they're moving very quickly and very efficiently now. So we kind of did our best estimates at the time, got the program in place. By continuing this term, we have the efficiencies of the safety people in place. We have a broker.
All right. Let me go to the second question.
Sure.
We're going to be spending billions. It's a 5 to 7 year project. It's not a today project. Tom Bradley will not be done by 2010, which is when it expires, but we're looking more, whenever it'll be done. But why are you saying 2010? Why not 2012 or something? This is a long, committed, multi-billion-dollar modernization project.
Great question. We anticipate the current OSIP projects, South Airfield, Tom Bradley, and inline projects, will be done by 2010. So that completes the original intended OSIP. Very correct. We've got these other projects coming online here. What we anticipate doing is a new RFP to wrap in these other larger projects, especially the anchor project, which would be the midfield project. But this extension of this term allows us to, if there are potentially other projects, smaller enabling projects, we could possibly potentially wrap these up into the current OSIP program without any delay in the insurance.
Mark Adams, Los Angeles World Airports. I just wanted to clarify, when Bruce is referring to the Tom Bradley project, he's not referring to the backside and expansion project, but rather the modernization project that's ongoing, which is why that project will be done by 2010, but not the backside project and the midfield project.
And we're doing a lot of time spent on this. Why 2010? Why didn't we just throw out an RFP, get a whole bunch of competitive biddings? 4 years ago is not 4 years, it's 4 years since. We're on a fast track. Ms. Hahn and I were both talking about modernization is key, and we have to do. So we're in it. So why didn't we, Mark, just go out and do an RFP, put a 5-year RFP, we're talking billions of dollars and all that, and have them all fight among themselves, get the best deal for the city?
Well, Bruce can correct me if I'm mistaken here, but I think the thought was to have this particular broker continue with these projects until the conclusion of these projects, but there would probably be a new broker for whatever new projects the board takes on under its capital improvement program. Am I?
So you're saying this doesn't cover the backside,
Well, that's
even though that work is going to be happening?
At this time, that is correct. It covers just the existing projects through
The
completion.
but the backside is going to be taking place, right?
but the insurance contracts for that project are not in place yet because the work is still being designed and planned. Once the backside project goes to construction,
Right.
then Bruce's team will.
When do we plan that to go to construction?
Well, they're still designing it. Don't know exactly when the construction start date on the timeline is, but I figure it'd probably be more or less around the 2010 timeframe because it's supposed to finish by 2012, correct?
Right.
Yeah, so it would probably start around 2010.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. It just doesn't,
I mean,
yeah.
it's a piecemeal thing.
Yeah.
And
And like I said, bottom line is we could have gotten a better deal for the city.
Yeah, when does the present insurance expire?
It expires 2010. So the
present one expires 2000, the one we have in place now?
that is correct.
So why are we?
No, the one we have in place now will expire in June 30th, 08.
The insurance
Yeah,
policy
but-
goes through 2010. This is the
Right.
brokerage. This is the contract for the brokerage firm.
Andrea Mills, CAO office, the insurance does expire in 2010, the AIG, so the brokerage is being covered up through 2010 to coincide with the AIG insurance.
Okay,
This
so
is brokerage
This
services.
is just the brokerage insurance
Exactly.
for
Yeah.
this particular project. So, all right, but are we clear that we want to get an RFP out there and really look at this? Because we're looking at a big
Yeah.
deal over a period of years, and I just don't want to have a sole source type stuff for this kind of stuff.
No, absolutely. This is simply
Okay.
to get a coterminous date with the insurance.
So for the new projects, there will be a new insurance.
There'll
Okay,
be a
let's-
new RFP.
Yeah, let's get that out, in plenty of time.
Yeah, we're working on that right now.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, before we approve it, we do have a public comment on this item. Arnold Sachs.
Good morning.
Good
I thought we were
morning.
going to have to give you CPR for a second. You almost fainted when he said, when you asked about the project start date, and he said 2000. You're like, I thought- you had me worried. That's why I was laughing. Arnold Sachs, what I basically wanted to talk about was I went to this airport commission meeting when this contract was brought forward, but there was also some other items on that commission meeting, and I couldn't kind of tie them together. And I'm curious to know, when the airport commission has their meetings and they authorize these projects or their agenda, whatever it is, and it's okayed, then it comes back to city council. And I just am not, the train of how things work. Just hearing now that the midfield concourse or Tibbet, the back gates are going to be open by 2012 when the midfield concourse was supposed to be open by 2012. So you're probably looking at the midfield concourse around 2015 in a realistic way. Well, they haven't started on the Tibbet.
It's not, they're going to go.
Yeah, okay. Having come to a lot of these meetings, I think 2015. But my question is, again, there was a bond issued for $950 million at this meeting, and it came back to City Council a week later. And there was a bond issued by City Council when Tibbet was first, the renovations were first brought before the City Council, but I don't know if that went before the Airport Commission because I wasn't going to those commission meetings for, if it started at the airport, at City Council and then went to the airport, but the second bond started at airport and came to City Council. And it's just again, the train of how the events or how these agenda items move forward. There's a few items that happen like that. So I'm just bringing that to the attention, and thank you for your time and your answers.
Thank you. that, is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Okay,
Thank you.
so moved.
Under item 5, the Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for council approval a permanent order, and the city attorney submits the accompanying ordinance to amend the Port Tariff Number 4, Section 20, General Rules and Regulations by the addition of 3 items which would add to the tariff the main engine marine fuel incentive program for ocean-going vessels. The CAO has submitted a report and a recommendation for approval of this tariff amendment.
Thank you. This is great. I mean, I'll just say, just to start off, I'm very, very pleased that the Port of Los Angeles and our Harbor Commission, and I believe Long Beach has also joined us in this.
Yes, ma'am.
Has agreed to step up to the plate and basically pay the difference between what ships are currently using to make it low sulfur fuel. Apparently there's a cost issue. That's why they all sort of complained that they couldn't go to low sulfur fuel because of the cost. And we said, you know what, we'll take care of that and we'll actually pay the difference. So apparently we can't mandate that they use low sulfur fuel at this point, but how can you refuse this offer? And I'm very, very proud of us because it really is the ships that cause the majority of the pollution in and around the harbor area. The ships contribute 20% of all the air pollution in the Los Angeles basin. So the ships have really been really a terrible impact on our air quality. I mean, we're doing the clean trucks. There's another item here. We're going to be doing clean yard equipment. But the ships have been such a source of pollution. And for the men and women that work on the docks on a daily basis, they're the ones that have really been breathing this bad air. So this tariff, which will, really give them every reason possible to use a low sulfur fuel, will, I think, and will do more to clean our air and improve air quality in this entire region than almost anything we've ever done. So I really want to say thank you for stepping up and taking away the excuses from the shipping industry on why they can't use this low sulfur fuel.
Great.
Anything you'd like to add to that?
I don't know if you want. I'm Chris Patton. I'm an Environmental Affairs Officer with the Port. You pretty well captured good understanding of the initiative. I guess all I would add is 2 quick things. The ships do represent, or the ports do represent about 20% of the air basin pollution, and the ships represent about 50% or more of the port-related emissions. And this particular measure, where we hope to have as high as 60% participation in just about 2 weeks, will reduce air pollution from that.
How much participation?
Approximately 60% we're shooting for in July at the inception of this program. Now we hope to ramp that up, of course. But that just by itself, just the fuel switching in the main engines will reduce OGV-related emissions by about 20%. And if we put together the other elements of this measure, which is the slowdown measure as well as the use of the distillate at birth.
Still voluntary, right, the slowdown?
Yeah, but we're up to 92% compliant.
Is that 20 miles out, 40 miles out?
20 miles out, but this program will give them money to switch fuel out to 40 miles out, and if they do so, then they must slow down starting at 40 miles out. So we have these additive benefits packaged together here, and if they switch fuel in the main engine and seek a reimbursement, they also must agree on their own dime to use distillate fuel in their auxiliary engines while at berth. So we package all that together, and it is probably the most comprehensive measure that has the greatest emission reductions of anything we've done thus far.
I agree. What was it? Oh, one of the other things that they kind of were throwing out at us was the availability. It was more difficult to get this low sulfur fuel. Is that?
Let me answer that very quickly. The 2 ports commissioned a multi-month fuel availability study that completed in March, and we presented that at a recent workshop to the shipping lines. The bottom line is that if we looked at various demand scenarios, pretty much over the next 2 years, shippers should be able, at these participation rates, to get fuel in global ports without any difficulty. However, the very most important finding out of that study is this is not a physical infrastructure or refining limitation on the fuel. It's a matter of economics. If the demand is there,
Right.
refiners will make it.
Right.
And they told us that repeatedly. So if
Right.
we create demand here, then
Right.
the foreign ports and their refiners are going to meet that demand.
And is that, and how about the cost? Do we expect the
Cost is immense.
Will it go
Not-
down?
I don't know. It's moving just like the cost of gasoline. I can tell you, when we put this program together, back between, say, January and March, the cost delta between this bunker fuel and distillate
Right.
was about $400 per ton. It is now in excess of $650
Wow.
per ton.
Now, is this something that we produce?
We do produce it locally, yes.
So our refineries?
Yes, and we actually hope to meet about 50% of the forecasted demand with bunkers being taken on here.
So our refineries right there?
They're ready to go.
The Conocos, the BPs, the Valeros,
Yep.
they're all, okay.
Yep,
Well, this
they've
is good for them, too.
they've attended a lot of this outreach.
Okay.
Yes, it's quite good for them,
Yeah.
and they're ready to respond.
Now, why wouldn't everybody do it? Why are we only looking at 60%?
We actually worked very closely with PMSA and the container shipping lines in the development of this. It was a really good collaborative effort. I want to emphasize that. And many of them came to the commission meeting and said so. The fact is, we did a survey of many of those container shipping lines, and they came back and they said, look, we have about 75% of our fleet that currently is equipped to carry 2 fuel stocks.
Right.
It's a onboard tankage
right.
thing. And out of that, we will commit, if you had this program ready today, 60% of our fleet would sign up. So that's
Right.
why we're targeting
I see.
60%. I think
Are you thinking-
getting above 75% is going to be
Right.
an equipment issue, but we
Right.
hope that this will move them in that direction over the
So
next year.
60% right now can accommodate this.
Actually,
Or
75%.
yeah, that's
But they
right.
wouldn't commit the entire
Okay.
available fleet.
Okay.
But we hope to continue to outreach and promote this because, as you said, it really is a win-win.
It is. It's really the single most thing I think we've ever done that will reduce.
And I must say, unlike some other things we've worked on, this has been a cooperative effort with industry, and they have wanted to do this, and it was really a major breakthrough in how we proceed with cap measures.
And I think it's key that we got Long Beach on board as
Yeah.
well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so this is for the benefit of the San Pedro Bay Ports complex.
Absolutely. Well, I do know that was one of the biggest issues as we were going through the trade pack negotiations, and that was clear that was significant for everybody moving forward, that the port adopts some port-wide policy. We weren't really sure what that was going to look like. That did something to address this issue, and what you've done, I think, far exceeded what any of us really even imagined.
Great. Just one clarification. This is put forward as a one-year program. It can be reauthorized by the commissions of both ports. The reason for the 1 year is that July 1st of 2009, we believe that there will be a statewide regulation requiring the same thing.
Good.
If that does fall through, then we will return to our commissions and ask for a reauthorization of this program.
Good. I mean, obviously, this is what needs to happen statewide, internationally. The MARPOL contract. It's got to be an international thing, and I think it's significant that you said the shipping industry was kind of welcome this.
Yep.
I think everybody gets this. I mean, when we were in 2002, when we were in China and Japan and Korea, that's when we were talking about cold ironing, and it was clear internationally everyone cares about this issue. We're all on the same planet, and everyone knows that this bunker fuel is just deadly.
It is.
Deadly. And
What
I know, I will tell you, my residents, particularly along the Point Furman area, when that's where the shipping lanes are, and you can see that pollution in the air any day of the week. And it just blows inland, and not just for the harbor area, though. It blows in, 15, 20 miles inland. That ship pollution was impacting everybody's health.
This fuel that we're going to use
It's a beautiful thing.
has greater than 90% reduction in sulfur content, and about a 75 to 80%
What's the
reduction.
percentage of is it
Right
1%,
now,
2%?
the typical fuel has sulfur content of about 27,000 parts per million. This program calls for replacement fuel of 2,000 parts per million.
And we were talking about 1%, 2%.
We will. That's what it is. 0.2.
0.2. 0.2.
0.2. And we will
Can
examine.
we get to 0.1?
We are going to try to work on that.
Okay.
That's the next step, and
Good.
CARB actually puts that forward in their reg.
Just can't ever make us happy. Okay, good.
A couple of quick questions.
Thank you.
Why not kind of make it for universal ships all the time, not just 20 miles out?
Well, actually, we do offer this program out to 40 nautical miles out, which is pretty much to the edge of the South Coast Air Basin. Once you get beyond that, the emissions benefit from this switch begins to not benefit the South Coast Air Basin because of wind patterns and dispersion patterns. If you were to say 100 miles out, then in fact you're reducing air pollution into the ambient air. However, you're not deriving the maximum benefit in this particular
I'm
air
just
basin.
curious in terms of just getting rid of that garbage fuel that is poisonous from the atmosphere.
From expense.
So that we just don't do it. On the open sea, it ain't the open sea, it's the westerlies and the global warming and the entire reality that this is crap that we're putting into the air.
It's cost. Fuel is the single largest cost of ships.
And from regular fuel
Do you
to
wanna-
this, what's the percentage change?
Our commissioner has, our environmental commissioner has.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh,
It's also a jurisdictional issue where as the Port Harbor Commission, we only have jurisdiction over a certain.
I'm just
and
curious
so-
about the cost of the fuel, the good fuel versus the bad fuel. Is it so dramatic that the world can't just go in that direction, period? So we
Chris
just
would know.
don't pollute our atmosphere? And
It's almost
global-
twice.
Twice
Per ton.
I see.
So it is huge, and they burn hundreds of tons coming across the Pacific.
But I,
Actually, what they are doing on their own is they're slowing down.
Okay, last question, technical one. If they're 20 miles out and they do it, how do they get that fuel 20 miles out? Do we go out in a tanker and put it in there, or
They
have it?
can't.
in
No, sir. They've got to have it on board, which means they have to have
Switch
picked it up
over.
in Asia before or the last port of call before they come here, or they needed to have picked it up the last time they were in San Pedro and haul it around.
They have it
on other
Yeah.
tank, and then they use it.
Yes,
as that?
dual
Right.
tankage.
Dual tank.
Dual
Yeah.
tankage.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate us, and as Geraldine said, it's our jurisdiction, and what is within our jurisdiction, I believe we've done the right thing. We've stepped up to the plate, and I really want to thank all of you for taking this bold step. And hopefully you'll be a model for ports up and down California. It'd be great if everybody did it voluntarily, but I look to the day when legislation will mandate that all ports do that.
Thank you.
It should be national legislation.
Thank you.
So every port in America.
Thank you. Okay, move to approve this
Yes.
item? Congratulations. Mike, are you here, are you here for the next item?
Next item.
Okay,
Under item 6, the Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for approval an agreement with Valcon Corporation for implementation of Phases 2 and 3 of the Ports Electric Truck Program. Phase 1 of this program consisted of the development of a prototype zero-emissions electric vehicle to be used in place of yard tractors for short hauling of cargo containers. Phases 2 and 3 are to consist of further testing and development of the yard tractor and the port's purchase of zero-emission yard tractors and on-road trucks. This agreement would have a term of 3 years, but also would provide that Balcon indefinitely would pay to the Harbor Department a royalty fee of $1,000 for any zero-emission yard tractor or truck sold by Balcon to any third party. The CAO has submitted a report and recommendation for approval of the agreement. My office has raised a question about one of the provisions
right.
that would delegate council approval of certain amendments to the agreement solely to the Board of Harbor Commissioners.
Madam Chair, just a point of order on the last item. Can I ask you to talk to our federal reps and see if we can get federal legislation for this issue nationwide? All the ports in America go that direction. And if we need to get Jane Harmon or one of these other federal folks to help sponsor it, I would love to see it.
Actually, we already are. We already are.
We are?
Yeah, we already are.
Okay.
Boxer is carrying
There
legislation.
you go,
Yeah.
Barbara.
Yeah.
Great.
So when we go back,
I love
On
it.
our trip, we always talk to Barbara about this issue, yeah.
Super.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, item 6. This is another cool item.
We're very pleased, Chairperson Hahn, Councilman Rosendahl, we're very pleased you're hearing this. This is an exciting.
Your name?
I'm Michael Christensen. I'm the Deputy Executive Director at the Port of Los Angeles. We're excited about this project. In fact, we have the originator and developer, Balwinder Samra, is in the audience here.
Hi.
And we asked him to come in case there were technical questions. I know, Councilman Rosendahl, you are very well versed in electric vehicles.
I believe that that's the future, you know. We
We're-
just got to make it happen.
Approximately 1 year ago, we teamed with the AQMD and funded a prototype tractor, which actually went into full field testing in January this year. We're pleased to report those tests have been very successful. In fact, we're moving that vehicle onto a marine terminal to continue the testing.
Which one?
YTI.
Okay.
We at the Harbor Department have gone forward as evidenced by this contract with a purchase of 25 units from Balcon to be manufactured in a facility in CD15 in the city of Los Angeles.
Harbor City.
Yes.
That's awesome.
20 of those units will be yard tractors,
Right.
UTRs or hostlers,
Right.
and 5 will be over-the-road tractors. These are all electric units. They're not hybrid.
They can make it over the bridge.
They will make it over the primary routes to the near dock rail yards and to other locations. The next generation represented.
Who will
by
use
con-
who will use the yard equipment, the 20 pieces of yard equipment? Will
We
they?
haven't determined that yet.
Okay.
They will be owned by the port, and what
Okay.
we'll do is we'll come up between now and when those will be delivered in about 8 months. We'll come up with a.
So they're
plan.
not for tray pack.
No, they could go
Why
to
not?
Tray Pack. They could go to anywhere we'd want to put them.
Okay. Seems to me tray pack would be a great place to start those.
That would be, and we could certainly take that under consideration,
Okay.
given its proximity to the neighborhood. yes.
Exactly. Also, who gets the trucks, the 5 trucks? Who uses those?
Undetermined yet.
Okay.
Our plan right
So
now.
you guys
is
keep
to
them in
look-
a garage at the port? And
No. Once we get these 5 over-the-road trucks,
Right.
we want them in service
Yeah.
between the Port of Los Angeles and the Near Dock Rail Yard or other locations close in within the range of these vehicles.
So would you give them to a company, one of the independent truckers?
It's likely we would find a firm, because recall at this point our concessions will be in force. We'll find a concessionaire that has
Okay.
gone through the process under our Clean Trucks program, and we'll probably
Okay.
sublease these.
How these are short haul? How far away?
They've got about a 30-mile daily range.
30
They have
miles.
some quick charge capabilities.
Unless they
also,
go over the bridge, then it cuts down to.
a little bit, but there's lots of places within the range of the Heim Bridge, which they can
Right.
easily handle right now.
Right. Certainly, from my perspective, I would love to see, if possible, some of these short haul trucks. Obviously, where it most impacts the community, maybe deliveries to the cruise terminal, or I mean, I'd love to see these trucks. Again, there's a lot of. But I don't know if they're short haul trips or not. But there's a lot places I think these electric vehicles could impact the community in terms of the terminals that are close by to the residential neighborhoods.
We believe,
You might want to just look at that.
a unique set of circumstances and duty cycles that are tailor-made for a heavy-duty electric
Okay.
vehicle like this. We're going to continue to explore them.
Or deliveries to Portugal, or just kind of when you see all those trucks on Harbor Boulevard in Portugal area, it'd be interesting to see
That's right.
if any of those vendors would be available.
And one of the
for something like this.
purposes of us going forward with this contract, quite honestly, is to be sure that this technology goes into limited production. And already we've seen, Balcon has seen a tremendous outpouring of interests from all kinds of companies, including local delivery, and then once we get him set up in production, to see that production dramatically grow and service other segments.
And this $1,000 royalty fee, once Balcon sells these vehicles to a third party for every one, you get $1,000?
That's correct. 1,000 comes to the city with the intent that we'll roll that back into
To the city or
further
to the
R&D.
port?
To the Harbor Department.
And do you have anything you're thinking about using that royalty fee for?
Geraldine Natz is on record as saying that will roll into further development of clean technologies and air quality improvements. So
One of the things you might consider is the Community Benefits Agreement Fund that we've just set up. Might be an interesting place to deposit that money because that's certainly going to be about furthering green technology and furthering mitigation of impacts to Wilmington and San Pedro. Might be an
We'll
idea.
take that back.
Take that under consideration. One of the things, it's been brought to my attention that in this agreement there is one section about proposing to delegate future contract amendments on the payment of this royalty fee to the department, delegating that authority to the board. Usually when there's amendments to agreements, it comes back to the city council. So we think the city charter might not allow for that delegation of authority. So one of the things I'm going to say that I think we could approve this agreement today, but I think we need to subject that to a report by the city attorney as to whether the council has the authority to delegate that approval to the Board of Harbor Commissioners. So before this comes to City Council, we're going to need the city attorney, your city attorneys, to either fix that or, tell us why that does not contradict the city charter.
we'd be glad to go back and take a look at that. We would ask this committee to see if we can keep this on an expedited track. We would love to
Let's
have
see if
them.
your city attorneys can do something in a week.
And we appreciate you doing it so far, yes. They're highly motivated.
I know. I'd like to see them turn something around in a week. Okay,
Yeah,
Mr.
first of
Rosenau.
all, it's another good new day going this way. This is obviously the direction we have to go. I'm thrilled. Secondly, have you, and the airport people have left, unfortunately, but have you talked with airport people, because this vehicle manufacturer produce any equipment that might be useful for airfield support vehicles at LAX, and clearly this technology exists to make electric vehicles that can do heavy lifting. So I'd like to know where we are with electric vehicles at LAX. I mean, this is as much an LAX issue as it is a port issue. Has there been any collaboration discussion between you and the LAWA people?
Not yet, Councilman, but every week Samra informs me he's getting more inquiries on duty cycles that are applicable to this. We'll take that under a suggestion and ask him to make some contacts and do the same.
We'd like to get a report back from somebody,
okay.
because I don't want to drop the point. I want this technology at the airport because we have the same kind of stuff, all kinds of things moving around, and all that should be electric vehicles. And the last thing is, as we are actually birthing a group, which is what we're doing here, giving them an opportunity to create themselves. As the energy continues on this issue, will we be issuing RFPs? I know the Chinese, as you know, been all over me with their electric vehicles. They have trucks, they have cars, they have this and that. I'm not suggesting we buy from China. I would rather build things here, actually, and create jobs in America. But have we reached a critical point where we might do some competitive RFPs and get some real competition in for electric vehicles?
Well, that is ultimately, Councilman, our hope of why we're doing this and putting our money on the line is get that critical private sector interest. And we're seeing every week, as I say, more interest in this. And I think hopefully we've lit the flame, and it's going to go forward with a lot of private investment.
Terrific, great.
I love this. I mean, again, the fact that Balcon is headquartered in Los Angeles, Harbor City, the idea of creating jobs. They're going through the First Source Workforce Center when they, have new jobs. But this is a whole industry. This is what we're talking about, green collar jobs. And are we now training up a new workforce, our young people, on how to have maintenance on electric vehicles? That's like a whole nother game in town, and this is perfect. This is, again, a technology, a policy that the Port of Los Angeles has adopted, which will besides cleaning the air, will create this whole new industry of good jobs. And I just want to make sure that we are connecting to the community colleges, and we're connecting to the high schools, we're connecting to the workforce centers on, again, training our young people on how to build and maintain electric vehicles. It's a whole new industry that, and I'm thrilled that you're in my council district. So again, thanks to the Port of Los Angeles.
Thank you.
Okay, so moved. And then we got the Sergeant of Arms. He's pulling out his handcuffs, and he's going to arrest you to take you down to City Council. But we do have public comment. I have Zumadog and Arnold Sachs.
I got to hear the constituents before we go downstairs.
This is a very important department, as you know, so
Respect to the
I
public.
took time out of my day. I was at the Paul Koretz yesterday at the House of Blues fundraiser. I saw you supported him, so
Sure do.
now I have to decide whether I will. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm here today, tourism, very important. First of all, you've heard me talk about Dr. W. Edwards Deming, 14 Methods of Management for Quality and Productivity. Briefly, if I could have your attention. Dr. Deming's the person from Washington the government sent over to Japan after the war to help them be able to build quality products and rebuild Japan. As you know, it worked. They built good automobiles. They built good stereos. We ended up importing it. We lost manufacturing, and now we're in big trouble. Now, the problem now you people probably have never found out about Dr. W. Edwards Deming, his 14 points to quality management, but the rest of the world has, and this isn't about the two of you or any specific council member. It's not about blame. It's about the system in the city of Los Angeles and statewide. And so when tourists from Japan, China, international, they've already embraced Deming. They come here. They know the second they step off the plane, it's going to be problems with what they're going to be experiencing. And then they come to the city and they see it. So seriously, I've spent a lot of time, Dr. Deming himself, now you look at me, but you didn't know before I came into this, I studied under the tutelage of Dr. Deming. He sent me a letter of endorsement of my thesis of his points, published internationally in Quality Digest. People like Anthony Robbins sent me letters. Hey, very well done. Tony Robbins, he bowed down to me on stage one time at one of his events that had never been done before. And so if it's online for you people, very easy to read. I've taken his points and synthesized them down. It's been published internationally. Time Warner Enterprises, the CEO, had me in his office to talk to him about it. If you go to zoomatimes.com, you've heard my website, Zoom at Times. If you go interpreting Deming's 14 points. If I told you briefly, if I said I have this report right here that can improve auto efficiency, cut emissions by 60%, and improve gas mileage by 60%, you'd want it. So the same thing for efficiency citywide. I'm serious. Thank you.
Thank you. Arnold Sachs.
Good morning, Arnold Sachs. Three things to discuss in my public comment. You had the Harbor Commission here again, or people from the Harbor. I'm still waiting a month, 2 months for the $90 million explanation regarding the security for the containers.
Right.
That hasn't come back. Also, I believe a couple of meetings ago, there was a discussion regarding some funding going around to neighboring communities, and there was a question about a 30-mile limit that Long Beach was getting money for funds for environmental funds, the charter fishing boat, something, and it was a 30-mile limit question. That hasn't come back. And then previously we discussed the airport, and not to beat this dead horse, but this is an article from the Daily Breeze from June 5th regarding the contracts. And it goes on to state regarding Gina Marie Lindsay that who was only considered to be an observer, was present and actively participated only during the final round of interviews in both cases. They've quoted you in this article, Ms. Hahn. I'm not going to get into that. My point is that I went to the airport committee meetings. I came to these committee meetings. Every time it was here, it was when Gina Marie Lindsay was questioned, she had no participation in the meetings. Now this comes out after everybody has blessed Gina Marie Lindsay, and I have no problems with her. My problem is that the group of people that she worked with in Seattle finished third. That's number one. Number two is what information was presented at the second meeting that would have changed 4 votes to 4 votes. Nobody's ever mentioned anything. Thank you for your time, again, your answers and your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. This meeting is adjourned.
Stephen Council,
Forthwith to the council floor.
to the bat polls.